Hi, this is Suzette Virnon, your relationship solutionist with the music math approach to dating and relating. And also, I look for solutions to help enhance people's overall lives because I believe everything is relationships, right? And relationships are a part of our lives. And so you can't improve your relationships without improving your life first. So, being a person who really believes this and really lives by it, on this, I was looking around on YouTube, as I tend to do. And to be honest with you, I was really looking for something about men and relationships because I was going to post something new on my You Ask Good Men Answered Facebook page. And in the process of looking for information to go on that page, you know how YouTube has suggested videos to look at down the side? Well, I came upon two thought leaders. One was Lopez. He is a mentor, a motivational speaker, an entrepreneur that has a whole lot to say about life and the way we live our lives. And then there was Jim Kwik. And Jim Kwik is known for, being a celebrity brain coach. He gives a whole lot of great information about memory and succeeding and the power of thought, brain power, so to speak. And the truest part of who I am made this wonderful, brilliant analogy. The way to become a millionaire is to learn to make a dollar consistently. If you cannot make $1 consistently, how the heck are you going to become a millionaire? And I just sat with that for a minute, that the way to become a millionaire is to find a way of making $1 consistently. The way of being successful is to find a way of being successful consistently. Finding something that you can be successful in consistently. That's the way you become successful. So the common denominator in both is consistency. Lopez made this analogy of someone saying they are a billionaire. They are working to be a billionaire. And he says, well, why don't you just work at being successful in a smaller capacity? Because what fuels our dopamine rush, which, makes us feel energized, our inner neurochemical motivator, is having small wins. And if you can't generate small wins, then you're not fueling enough dopamine for the big win. It is the accumulation of the small wins that train your brain to go for the bigger wins. And he said, I know a lot of us have been taught, shoot for the stars, shoot for the moon, and then if you fail, you'll fall among the stars. He said, but that does not really fuel our inner motivators. It doesn't fuel that chemical in us that makes us want to keep trying, makes us want to raise our game to a higher level. In other words, you have to consistently be successful at something before you can reach for billionaire, before you can reach for the moon. And that makes sense to me. It's not saying aim lower than what you're capable of. No. But it's saying, okay, the way you get from step 1 to step 20 is to learn to go up the steps. And he made this analogy: if you try to jump from step 1 to step 20, skipping all the steps in between, you usually will bump your head. And he said, have you ever tried to run up steps holding books? You might can skip one step holding books, but if you're holding books and you're trying to go from step 1 to step 20, you are going to hurt yourself. That's just the way of things. You're going to hurt yourself. And so in listening to it, my inner wisdom spoke to my brain and said, learn to be successful at something consistently, and you will gain the momentum for your big dream. Have you ever watched someone that is getting ready to do a pole vault? They don't just stand where they are, take the pole in their hand, hit the ground beside them, and expect to jump over that bar. They have to look at the bar, reverse engineer that thing. They have to go backward. They have to go backward, pole in hand, make a running start, then hit the pole in the ground to propel them over that bar. Many of us want to leap from where we are to being a billionaire, from where we are to be a millionaire, from where we are to being successful, and we haven't even given ourselves a running start. We just want to read a bunch of books, go to a bunch of seminars, ingest a lot of information, and just beam me up Scotty to it. Just think our way to it. Just write it down and keep studying it without any effort. But in order for you to make a leap, you have to have momentum. You have to build up momentum. And so what I'm suggesting is learning to be successful in something consistently. You know, being consistent in something. Learning to be consistent in making that dollar. Susie Carter said something when I went to 2017's Speaker Right to Make Millions conference that stays with me every time the creative part of me wants to defer to something different. We'll do something for a while, and then we'll move on to do something else. And then we'll move on to do something else. And then we'll move something on and do something else. But something that she said that grounds me. Thank you, Susie Carter. And that's Carder, Susie Carter. She's Lisa Nichols' coach. She said, you must be successful at this one thing first. And if you aren't, you don't have the right to go to something else. Work this part of your vision first. If you say this is your dream, work this part of your dream first. If you say that you are an author, write the book. Write a book first. Be successful at writing the book. Not just having the idea of being an author. Not just saying I have something to say to the world. Until you start writing it, until you've got one book down, you don't have the right to move on to something else. Especially if that's what you're saying your calling is, your dream is. If that's where your energy is hovering, if that's your vision, then before you move to something else, You need to be successful in your vision first. Get this down first. Be successful in it first. Turn a profit in it first before you start going on to something else. And that's the same in relationships. That's the same in life. Becoming consistent in something. If you become consistent in showing up as who you are, even though you might attract or interact with men that are not your ideal, you're still building up enough momentum in your tiny successes that when Mr. Right shows up, he's recognizing it because you have consistently shown up as yourself. You have been consistent in being who you are in the world. You have been consistent in doing that, in being that, in becoming the person, honing the person that sends out the energy field to the person who is suitable to you. So it starts with not just attending a summit, but what are some tiny wins that you can do consistently? What are some successes you can have in relationships consistently? Instead of trying to go from step 1 to step 20, what is something that you can consistently do and be successful at it when it comes to relationships? What is it that you can consistently do and be successful in doing when it comes to your relationships with men? How can you do that? One way that you can practice it is a dating site. Set your intention of consistency, and with every man you interact with on the dating site, bring that measure of consistency. With every man. It doesn't change based on his response. That you have made a commitment to show up as yourself in this way consistently. Then you're gaining the momentum for the Mr. Right. Because if you can be consistent before you meet him, you will be consistent with him. But it starts where you are. Even if you're in a relationship, what is one way you can honor who you are consistently in this relationship? Doesn't matter how he behaves, doesn't matter what he says, doesn't matter what he does. But what is one way I'm going to honor who I am consistently in this relationship? Then it's going to reveal, it's going to teach him how to treat you or how to respect you, or it's going to reveal that he wasn't in it for the right reasons, or it's going to reveal that the only reason he's in it is because you sent your representative, you sent a false representative to the table, and you cannot blame him for that. If he fell in love with a phony and he leaves, then good. You don't have to keep up appearances any longer to keep him. He wasn't in love with the right person. You have created room for love to come that will love you for who you are because you have made it a commitment by being consistent. You are not ready for Mr. Right until you can learn how to be consistently you. If you can learn to be consistent true to who you are, then you are building the momentum for the relationship that you envision. That's it.